Good evening, everyone. My name is Blythe Price, and this is my colleague, Homa Hayatafer. We're super excited to be here tonight to talk with you a little bit about an important topic such as phishing. For us at Microsoft, it's important that we focus on phishing to not only secure our company, but also our customers, especially since phishing is not only increasing in frequency, but also sophistication. We've got a ton of content that we'd like to try to cover in a short 20 minutes, and so we're gonna hold questions till the end. When we're done, we'll step off to the side and then answer as many questions as you like. With that, I'll turn it over to Homa.
Thank you, Blythe, for the introduction. Let's start with a poll. How many of you have an established phishing program today? Can you raise your hands? Okay, keep them raised. How many of you run simulations on your employees? How many of you have a feedback model to gather after cases? And how many of you have data that tells you which protective controls are the most effective? Okay, seems like a good set of you do, but we're going to talk about what's in our tacklebox here at Microsoft and provide key takeaways for you to have as we've learned lessons along the way as well. We are from the anti-phish team, as Blythe described, and we're continually partnering with product groups and security partners to safeguard our data as well as our customers. However, there's no silver bullet to do this, and we do it through a multi-pronged approach. We do this through the protective controls, detection and response, reporting and insights, and user awareness. At Microsoft, we have a set of protective controls with the goal to drive improvements in the current and deploy additional technologies to reduce the instance of delivered phish. The funnel can provide an end-to-end inventory of your controls and encompasses protection against today's phishing campaigns in your specific environment. Mail flows through the funnel and email filtering occurs, and then it can be either routed to the inbox, junk mail folder, or quarantine. Which protective control do you think catches the most based on the 5 listed above in this sample data set? For us, it's anti-spoof external domains. Now think about which one is the most effective, and keep this in mind as we will come back to it later. There are 2 groups of filters, pre and post delivery. So for example, URL detonation will detonate the link and withhold it until it's deemed safe. But let's say the link is delivered and the attacker changes it to make it malicious. Then what happens? Well, ATP safe links will then redetonate at time of click protection. So make sure you're thinking end-to-end when configuring policies. So what do I mean by that? Think about phish zap. What is zap? 0-hour auto purge. So when a mail has been deemed malicious after delivery to the inbox, it gets moved to the junk mail folder. However, that's just one safeguard. And when thinking of that, think of, well, it's still accessible to the end user and they can take action on it. So there's going to be a new feature soon that moves that to quarantine. So one feature may exist and you may set it, but don't forget to go back and reconfigure as it's going to continue to evolve and you will need to evolve with it. Now, think of those high-risk employees, such as if you're executives. Make sure you have impersonation for them. And then lastly, go beyond mail protection. In recent cases, we've seen caller ID spoofing in Microsoft Teams and Skype for Business. I'm sure you've read it in the news, or maybe it's even happened for you. We'll take the same approach and principle and apply it to that as well. So provide anti-spoofing for that. And then, of course, we have multi-factor authentication and just-in-time elevation. So security response experts need to be able to protect, detect, and respond to threats. There are over billions of events, thousands of detections, and hundreds of investigations. Teams are ready 24/7 to quickly assist and mitigate cloud incidents. When a bad mail does make it through, though, at times we do have to rely on our last line of defense, which is the end user. The end user can report a message through our internal site or through the report message button. Why is this so important? Because once they do, then it goes to our case management tool for the review by the analyst to either see if it's a false positive or relay that information back so we can continuously make improvements. Our team has connections that include Microsoft Defender ATP, Azure ATP, and APIs such as Office 365 Activity Management API. So let's talk about an example. Let's say Microsoft Defender ATP alerts that a signature has been found in a malicious file. Then an analyst determines the validity. The file was malicious and delivered in mail, let's say. Then they will go to Office 365 ATP and search and purge. They will go back to Microsoft Defender ATP and see how many clicks, downloads, or user compromise or device compromise there was. If there were C2 connections detected, then they will flatten and rebuild. This, along with other signals, feed the machine learning models that improve the overall protection. So what is some data we collect? The number of cases and incidents, the types of campaigns, user or device compromise, and the time it takes to resolve a case and the time it takes to resolve an incident. So what are some learnings from us to you? We use that retrospective model that allows us to understand the why. Why did this case happen? Was it a miss on filtering that we need to provide feedback to improve the model, or was it a miss on our end? And what do I mean by our end? So in one of our incidents, an executive was targeted at Microsoft by a phishing campaign. And this mail was delivered bypassing URL detonation and mail flow due to an accidental and unnoticed displacement of a policy for ATP safe links. This emphasized the importance of monitoring to ensure you don't have configurational drift. Whitelisting and mail flow rules. We set them, we forget them, and in cases revealed that due to an IP address whitelist, we left ourselves susceptible to the attack. When messages are being treated as spam and there's false positives, we turn to whitelisting for a speedy recovery. But we've learned there's alternatives that you can apply, such as DKIM or certificate-based connections. Then let's look at the other case. Something that we weren't really expecting. Phish and spam mails were going to the focused inbox for users. And when using that feedback loop with the user, we understood the why, which also emphasized understanding that at times users can configure things that you're not aware of, which was they've displaced their junk mail folder. We wanted to understand the risk of that, so we scanned our environment and realized, okay, so this is a bigger problem than we thought. So then we could take preventative actions. Then lastly, as most of you know, email authentication improves delivery, verification of the source, prevents spoofing and phishing, and safeguards our brand. However, as of March 2018, only 9% of Fortune 500 companies had proper authentication policies. So our priority was initially focused on only mail sending domains. But then we soon realized non-mail sending domains are just as important. So preserve your brand, put as much priority in both, and make sure that you have proper authentication. And don't let attackers borrow your brand. Reporting and insights. So why is reporting important? Other than the glorious data that you can pivot through, you can make a lot of strategy that comes from this. So we look at top incidents and cases, we look at cases and incidents month over month. What do I mean? And I'll let you define what a case and incident means for you, but for us, a case is it doesn't make it to the inbox. Did pre-delivery not prevent it? If it does make it to the inbox, then did the post-delivery action save it? For example, did safe links protect the users? An incident also means that a user or device was compromised, or the SOC, or Security Operations Center, had to take an action on the mail. Watching this trend month over month, quarter over quarter, and year over year, as you're improving your protection stack, can really help you understand, are you getting the return on investment you were looking for? For top targeted, we do pivots of this. We don't only look at top targeted at Microsoft overall, but we look at top targeted executives. We look at top targeted in specific roles, such as engineering, or PM roles, or operations. Then we look at top organizations. What do I mean? Why is that so important? Because maybe we need to focus some education to a specific organization that is at risk higher than the rest. So make sure you have these measures of efficacy based on what your environment needs. Now, remember that initial question I had asked you about which one is the most effective? Let's look at it through a different lens. The first right-hand side, you'll see, okay, volume and catches, anti-spoof, external domains. But does that mean it was the most effective? No. Let's add one more pivot to it and look at what happened to the mail. We can see that anti-spoof, though great, catches a lot of it goes to junk and a lot gets delivered. So there are false positives. However, then let's look at ZAP, or let's look at anti-malware. Those have more efficacy for us. So to understand this, you might wonder, well, why does it matter? I'm going to roll out all of them anyway. Well, let's go to another scenario. This on the right is a campaign that we actually had at Microsoft. It shows you the full flow of the campaign, from the IPs to the senders to what was the filter and what was the final disposition of the mail. So think about this end-to-end campaign and then see that this was an incident for us. It was initially a case because there was 11 inbox. 2 people clicked. Well, did they have post-delivery detections that saved them? Yes, actually SafeLinks caught it. But we had a policy configuration that allowed users to override that. This really makes you think, okay, we were initially worried about the false positive rate. Well, now we need to start thinking about this a little differently, because how big is our risk? So then that's where the left-hand side comes in handy. You want to look at it over a larger amount of time, not just on a single case. A huge number of users in that time frame were overriding. So this tells us one thing. We need to invest time to understand the why here. From those cases, were the users compromised? If so, then we need to rethink of that policy. Were those false positives? Because then we can feed that back to the model. So I hope you have some takeaways from that, and I'm going to hand it over to Blythe to talk about our user education and awareness program to feed the last points and bring it all together.
Yeah, so as Homa said earlier, users are our last line of defense in this scenario. And so our user education and awareness program focuses on exposing employees to not only the experience of being phished, but also the concept and the different attack vectors. Ooh, maybe I should stay still. So what we do is we give them experience, then we feed them up with guidance and help them understand what to do when they do find one. We do this in 3 ways. We help people learn through experience, which we do through facilitated exercises called simulations. We also help people build skill through super effective training, and then we drive awareness through campaigns, outreach events, and so forth. And then one of the biggest priorities for us is promoting a healthy reporting culture. So I'm going to dig really quickly into each one of these and share some of my insights. So for us with simulations, lots of companies do these, but we thought, okay, we've got this amazing set of data, and as Homa alluded to, we have an incredible filtering system. And so we don't want to give users mails that aren't likely to come into our system. And so what we do instead is we take data insights, understand what we're seeing, and then produce medium to high sophisticated emails to test them on. So that way we're educating and testing users on mails that are more on par with what we see. And then we use data to help us understand strategically how we target this. Also, when we do our simulations, we're not even just thinking about the users. It's also an amazing opportunity to test your system. And so through my experience, when I did my first simulation, I uncovered all kinds of interesting things through our support channels and things that people thought they were doing right instead of following standard process. So while you're going through simulations, it's also important to take note of the operational things that you're seeing that aren't quite right and come back to those later. So I want to give an example of where we took some data from top trends that we're seeing and show you how we turned it into a mail. Maybe. Oh. All right. So here's when we go to start a planning cycle, we say, okay, Homa, pull the last quarter's worth of trends that we're seeing. Let's look at the top 4 trends that we're seeing for mails. And you'll see there's a few different themes here. 1, people are receiving mails from Office 365 with great branding, asking them to do things. 2, we're seeing a lot of the attached audio. So, hey, you've got a voicemail, click to open this. So we're seeing that as well. And so we take that data and then we turn it into a mail and facilitate something that we've seen reported through our system. And so interesting though is that you see a lot of these things where you get a mail and there's 3 or 4 top trends. And so the more you can integrate the themes that you're seeing, the better. I want to tell a couple stories around the other themes that we have listed here. First, safety tips. 12 months ago, we did a company-wide exercise, and we were in the process of rolling out a good amount of safety tip features, and we thought, this is a great opportunity for us to leverage the simulation to test whether these safety tips that we're spending all this time on actually are effective. So we took a piece of our population, sent them the same exact mail that we were sending to everybody else, did an A/B test, put a safety tip in there, and fortunately for us, the data showed that safety tips reduce susceptibility. So our investment was well spent, and our time was well managed. So fast forward to essentially today. We're in the process of planning another simulation, and one of the themes we're seeing is those attackers using those same exact safety tips against us. And so how do we think about that? We say, okay, well, if they're using these against us, now we have to add into our training strategy to help users understand what safety tips do and don't look like. So one of the things that we're seeing is they always send warm, fuzzy safety tips that say, this is safe, this is a trusted sender, it's all good. Our safety tips don't do that. They would never be a positive note. They're always going to say, caution, unverified sender. This looks like someone you may know, but is a little bit different. And so that's part of working in this data into how you strategize across the board for the different things that you're seeing. Second, quarantine. As Homa mentioned, one of the places that our mails go to is quarantine. Today, only our SOC analysts are able to look and release those mails, but there may be a model in the future where users can go in and see them. And that's why we're seeing phishing mails coming through with a quarantine subject, because companies are doing this. And so what this data tells us is that ahead of us rolling out this feature, we're gonna have to go out to the user population, let them know that this is a risk, help them to understand what it does and doesn't look like. And so this is a really great example of how we set up our program to work end to end, and we leverage one another's work to make sure that we're equipping users and making sure that our controls are effective and not being used against us. So I'm going to briefly talk a little bit about our training program. So like I say, we also help people learn through building skill. So the best opportunity for us to get mass saturation across our company was to leverage a large-scale annual training, which is required. And so what we've done is we've dedicated a whole module to phishing, where we serve them up a fun vignette that helps them kind of get loosened up and ready for the content, and then we make them go through a module of information. Now, this isn't a read and click forward exercise. This is a read, interact, test your knowledge, get feedback. And what this does for us is helps us not only understand, how well they do and help us adjust our training, but it actually makes people invest the time and learn and build skill. So the other thing we know is you can't learn through an annual exercise. At least if you want to change behavior, you're going to have to come back to them more than one time a year. So what we do is we follow it with a micro-learning. And what we've done is we've taken what we've taught them in the past, do a knowledge recall, see how successful we were at serving them up content and them retaining it, and then we build on additional and mature their skills. For example, this year we released a micro-learning where we started introducing the concept of phishing, smishing, and vishing. So for example, we said, here's a text message. Do you think this is from Wells Fargo, yes or no? And then, whether they guess legit or not, in this case, not legit, we serve up a really consistent set of feedback. One, we validate whether they were right or wrong. Two, we help them understand the why. What are they after? What do they want? And then also drive back to reporting. We also did one with a voicemail. Listen to this voicemail. Do you think this is someone who's legit calling you or not? Same consistent model. Why are they calling you? What are they after? What do you do? And then also, we run ongoing awareness campaigns. So last month was National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. What great opportunity to reintroduce phishing. We run digital signage. We do posts on Yammer. We keep it going. We keep the drumbeat, keep it forefront. You have to keep this stuff top of mind for people. So you've taught all these people what to watch for. You have to give them a reporting channel that's consistent and easy when they get there. So you want to make sure that everybody knows what's the 911 for your company. For us, it's twofold. One, we have Report It Now because we have other security incidents. So we have a centralized mechanism to capture everything. Two, we have the Outlook Report Message button. And the amazing thing for this is it's quick and it's easy. And that's what you have to do with users. If it's not quick and it's not easy, they're going to get there, decide it's not worth their time, and they're going to abandon ship. So make it quick and easy. Also, you got to make sure that the reporting mechanisms are where they are. So we've extended to mobile because we understand our employee population does email on mobile. Imagine that. So we've made sure that that's available there as well. Another super important piece about reporting is making sure that you're closing that feedback loop with the users. You don't want to submit a report and wonder if anybody's looking into it. At minimum, let them know, we've got your report, we are looking into it. Even better, if you can come back to them and say, you know what, great job, this was a fish. Or you know what, it wasn't a fish, but great job. You know, if you reinforce the behavior that you keep trying to ask them to do, they're more likely to do it again. And also, validating whether it was a fish or not will help them become better reporters. And then also, another thing you can do is understand the culture in your company. For us, we're a tech company. One of the things that we found effective is to help people understand when you report, it makes our technology better. So when you report, we go back, we look, why did we miss it? We fine tune our controls, and then we get better. And some people, that's enough motivation in itself. So lastly, my top go-do is, this clicker really loves me. For us, we work on an education awareness team that doesn't just work on phishing. We work on all security risks for the company. And the consistent thing that we find from a success perspective is helping people understand the why. If you can help people understand what is at stake, what is at risk, what do they want from us, and help them understand that, but also at times be able to be approachable, fun, even funny. Some of our videos, if you've seen any of our other sessions, are super comical. Be approachable. You don't want to be that security team who's just walking around with a stick waiting for you to do something wrong. So focus on the why, make it approachable, and we found that to be super successful.
Right, and I'm going to just talk about my 3 quick go-dos for you. Don't set it and forget it. Put monitoring in place for your controls and policies. Move to automated investigation processes for detection and response. If you haven't checked out the automated incident response for AIR in Office 365 ATP, try it out. Use data to understand how your organization is being attacked and where to invest. Data is your friend, and as you can see, we've integrated it across all our channels. So this is how we've brought phishing end-to-end for Microsoft, and these are the 4 components we focus on. Thank you so much. Please provide us feedback.
Yeah, we'll be over off to the side for questions. Happy to talk with you.